Hello, I'm Scott Wrighton and I serve as Decatur's city manager. It's my pleasure to bring you these weekly updates, and there's so much going on in Decatur city government with regard to our budget that'll begin for January 1st, our tax levy ordinance, work that we're doing to make surplus properties available to the citizens of Decatur online, and many other things that I'm anxious to share with you. But I'm going to wait on all of those subjects to talk a little bit about COVID, in part because I think there's been some misinformation out in the public recently that warrants clarification. Governor Pritzker has issued new recommendations, and they are only recommendations, that encourage people as much as possible to move to home-based work. This certainly makes sense, and so if you work for an employer that is able to do that and you're able to discharge those work duties from home, you should certainly do that. For those of us here at the City of Decatur, it's a little bit harder because, of course, we provide essential services, everything from providing your drinking water, taking care of sewage, police, fire, road maintenance, traffic signals, all of which have to continue even though many people are sheltered at home. But these recommendations are sound in their intent. Each organization has to figure out what works best for them. We appreciate what the governor is trying to do to implement these rules and some of these recommendations to keep the spread of the virus down. Throughout all of our responses to COVID, the city has been very deliberate, and it's been deliberate about two things in particular. The first is that we want to try and change people's behaviors. We want to change the way that they think about the ways that they provide their services or that they run their businesses, so that they'll think about what's in the best benefit and the best public health of all people who live in Decatur. Changing behaviors positively is always more effective and goes down better than negative enforcement methods. But when it comes to enforcement, the City Council has been fairly clear that they do not want to engage in overarching and abusive uses of our powers that are provided either by state statute or by emergency orders. So we have strayed away from sweeping mask ordinance mandates, and we have never had roving patrols of police officers or other city inspectors going to establishments trying to find them or trying to shut them down. In situations where discretion is broad, and discretion is very broad when it comes to COVID, we think that that kind of heavy-handed policing is not appropriate, and it's better for the city to work with the health department and the state to figure out ways to change people's behaviors. Now, this subject has created a great divide, not only in our nation, but also here in Decatur. There are some people that feel very strongly that the government should have a very heavy hand, a very heavy policing hand, and have mask ordinances and have these sorts of rules that extend the local government's powers. There's others that feel like we should be very more relaxed and allow people their rights and their liberties. And we have tried to find that middle path between an appropriate use of the city's powers, but also acting in the best way to protect people's liberties, to understand that not every situation is the same and requires some discretion. Even the members of the Decatur City Council have sharp divisions among them as to how we should pursue this policy. There's at least probably two members of the City Council that think we should have a much stronger hand, where others think that we should steer a softer path. I believe that success in this matter is not judged by how many citations we can issue or how many businesses can be shut down, but rather I think success is whether or not we get substantial compliance among the general population. And I can tell you that our compliance rates are improving and the number of complaints that we receive is decreasing. The biggest risk for getting the virus here in Decatur continues to be large groups, whether those large groups are inside a restaurant or inside a meeting hall or outside at a park or someplace else. Large groups is where these things can be spread, inside or outside. So whether the large group is inside or outside, we will, through our police department, act to disperse these large groups when we see them or they have been reported to us. But don't worry, we're not going to interfere in who you invite to Thanksgiving. That would be an overreach. That may seem kind of funny, but there are communities that are engaged in that kind of regulatory overreach, and the city of Decatur is not going to be going there. Ladies and gentlemen, some of this is just common sense. It's not a one-size-fits-all application of state rules or local rules. In fact, I'll tell you a brief story. We had an establishment that we gave a warning to because their employees were not wearing masks. And they called us back in response to that warning and said, City, we're happy to comply. We understand what the city's trying to do. But the cashier at this particular establishment was inside a plastic box, essentially a booth, fully contained. And so does he have to have a mask in that situation? We said, no. I don't think you need a mask in that situation because everybody has to slip their credit cards through a little hole. But if he goes outside that enclosure to fix the soda machine or restock the shelves or whatever, then he should be wearing a mask. No issue. So there are situations where application of common sense to meet and to fit circumstances that are peculiar and unique are appropriate. Now, the City Council may change their instructions to staff on this matter, but today, the City Council's instruction is that for those establishments that we issue an amusement place license to or a liquor license to, if we receive a complaint that they are violating the rules having to do with social distancing, with staff wearing masks, with cleaning the surfaces on a regular basis, and so forth, if we receive a complaint, we will investigate those complaints. And I believe the County Health Department is doing the same thing. They are responding on a complaint basis. We usually send the police department to respond or some other staff person, but usually the police department to check those out. In some cases, it's found that the complaint is without merit and there really isn't any indication that they're violating the rules. If they are found to be in violation of the rules, not only will they be talked to by the police, they'll also receive a warning letter from the city that indicates that their permit or their license is at risk if they continue to flagrantly violate these rules. And we make it clear to them, in fact, I've done some of them myself, that egregious violation can lead to temporary suspension of their licenses. So we have not suspended any licenses yet. That's not because of a lack of enforcement, it's because for the most part, we've enjoyed a high degree of compliance. Now, some of the complaints are not coming from places of amusement or liquor license establishments that are under the city's purview and that we regulate. Some of them are coming from retail establishments that don't have liquor licenses. And so the city doesn't have jurisdiction in those cases. That's not an area that the City Council decided to regulate. And many of those are being referred to the Health Department or to the state of Illinois. So we will continue to adapt to the changing situation, and the situation is changing regularly. The governor is trying to keep us all safe. Local government will continue to craft its policies and its approaches to this in a way that reflects the spirit and intent of the governor's rules, while still acknowledging that there are local situations that, just as a matter of common sense and practical application, work best for that business. To find that middle ground between protecting all of our health and making sure that infection rates stay low, but yet acknowledging too that we can't collapse the economy. Thank you for your assistance. Please continue to feel free to report anonymously if you wish establishments that are violating these rules, and we will follow up on them. Thank you for helping to make Decatur better, and I look forward to talking to you about other subjects later this month.